In a frosty Canadian park, hidden deep beneath layers of thick ice, scientists discovered a bizarre skeleton they named the frozen dragon. The skeleton had been in the frozen ice for millions of years. It took experts decades to work out the species of this strange fossil. It was identified as a new genus of pterosaur. But this is just one of many incredible discoveries that the ice has revealed to us. From mummies frozen in time to ancient viruses that could reshape our understanding of life itself, the frozen depths of our planet are hiding secrets that will absolutely blow your mind. What you're about to see are some of the most mysterious and mind-boggling discoveries ever found preserved in ice. These aren't just random artifacts or ancient bones. We're talking about perfectly preserved specimens, lost civilizations, and even potential clues about extraterrestrial life that have been locked away in nature's freezer for thousands, sometimes millions of years. Each discovery on this list has baffled scientists and rewritten what we thought we knew about our planet's history. So grab a warm drink, because we're about to dive into the most chilling mysteries our frozen world has ever revealed. Let's start with that incredible frozen dragon I mentioned. In a remote location in Canada, paleontologists made a discovery that would change everything we thought we knew about ancient flying reptiles. Buried beneath meters of ice and permafrost, they found the remarkably preserved skeleton of what they initially couldn't identify. The creature was massive, with a wingspan that stretched over 16 feet and a head that was 3.5 times larger than its body. When scientists finally managed to piece together what they were looking at, they realized they had discovered an entirely new genus of pterosaur. These weren't just any flying reptiles. They were colossal beasts that ruled the skies 76 million years ago, soaring above the dinosaurs like something out of a nightmare. The researchers described them as the biggest, meanest, and most bizarre animals that ever took flight. What makes this discovery so incredible isn't just the size of the creature, but the condition it was found in. The ice had preserved details that would normally be lost to time. Scientists could see muscle attachments, bone structure, and even traces of what the creature's final moments might have looked like. The new genus has been named Cryodracoboreus, which translates to frozen dragon of the north winds. It's a fitting name for a creature that seems to bridge the gap between our wildest fantasies and scientific reality. But here's what's really mind-blowing about this discovery. The pterosaur wasn't just randomly frozen. The circumstances that led to its preservation suggest it might have died during a catastrophic climate event that flash froze large portions of the ancient world. This means there could be hundreds, maybe thousands of similar creatures still waiting to be discovered beneath the ice. Now imagine if I told you that scientists have literally brought a creature back to life after it spent 24,000 years frozen solid. You'd probably think I was making it up, but that's exactly what happened in the Russian permafrost. In 2021, researchers made one of the most groundbreaking discoveries in the history of biology. Deep beneath the frozen ground of Siberia, they found microscopic organisms called bdelloid rotifers that had been frozen for nearly 24,000 years. Now, scientists knew that some organisms could survive being frozen for a few years, maybe even a few decades. But 24,000 years was absolutely unprecedented. What happened next was like something out of a science fiction movie. When the researchers carefully thawed these ancient creatures, something incredible happened. They didn't just survive, they immediately began feeding, reproducing, and acting as if they had only been asleep for a few hours instead of frozen for millennia. These tiny organisms, smaller than the width of a human hair, had essentially achieved immortality through freezing. But here's the truly staggering part. Further analysis showed that these organisms could potentially stay frozen for hundreds of thousands of years and still come back to life. We're talking about creatures that might have lived during the time when early humans were just beginning to use tools, and they're still alive today. This discovery has massive implications for our understanding of life itself and could hold the key to developing technologies for preserving human tissue, maybe even entire human bodies for extended periods. The rotifers might have survived through the rise and fall of entire civilizations, through ice ages and global catastrophes, all while remaining in a state of suspended animation. They witnessed the dawn of human agriculture, the building of the pyramids, the rise and fall of empires, all from their frozen prison beneath the earth. But if you think a 24,000-year-old organism is impressive, Wait until you hear about what happened in the Italian Alps in 1991. Two German tourists were hiking through the mountains when they stumbled across what they initially thought was the body of a recently deceased hiker. Little did they know they had just made one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the modern era. The body they found was so well preserved that authorities initially treated it as a crime scene. But when scientists examined the remains, they discovered something absolutely extraordinary. This wasn't a modern hiker at all. This was a man who had died over 5,000 years ago, making him the oldest natural mummy ever found in Europe. They named him Otzi the Iceman. What makes Otzi's discovery so remarkable isn't just his age, but the incredible level of detail that the ice preserved. Scientists could examine his stomach contents and discovered that his last meal was dried meat, similar to the bacon we eat today. They found that he was covered in tattoos, making him one of the earliest known examples of body art in human history. They could even determine that he was lactose intolerant and suffered from various health conditions, including Lyme disease. But here's where Otzi's story gets really fascinating. The evidence suggests that he didn't die peacefully. An arrowhead was found lodged in his shoulder, and there were signs of a violent struggle. Scientists believe he was fleeing from attackers when he sought refuge in the mountains, only to succumb to his injuries in the harsh alpine conditions. The ice preserved not just his body, but the story of his final, desperate hours. What's even more incredible is that researchers have been able to trace Otzi's genetic lineage. They've found that he has at least 19 living relatives in Central Europe today. Imagine discovering that you're related to someone who died 5,000 years ago, and whose perfectly preserved body was found frozen in a glacier. Speaking of bringing things back from the dead, here's a discovery that sounds like something from a fantasy novel. In the depths of Siberia, scientists were studying ancient squirrel burrows when they found something that would rewrite the rules of extinction. Hidden deep beneath the permafrost, they discovered seeds that had been stored away by a squirrel 32,000 years ago. These weren't just any seeds. They belonged to a flower called Silene stenophila, a species that had been extinct for thousands of years. The squirrel had essentially created a time capsule, and the freezing conditions had preserved these seeds in perfect condition for over 30 millennia. Now, here's the part that will absolutely blow your mind. Scientists were able to extract plant tissue from inside these ancient seeds and successfully grow an entire crop of flowers. They literally brought an extinct species back to life using seeds that were frozen when woolly mammoths still roamed the earth. The flowers that grew from these ancient seeds were identical to their ancestors, unchanged after 32,000 years of being frozen. It was like nature had hit the pause button on evolution itself. Scientists have since reintroduced these previously extinct flowers to natural habitats all across the world. This discovery raises incredible questions about what else might be preserved in the permafrost. If seeds can survive for 32,000 years and still grow, what other forms of life might be waiting in nature's freezer? Could there be genetic material from extinct animals that could one day be brought back to life? But not all frozen discoveries are from the distant past. Sometimes the ice reveals mysteries from more recent history that are equally baffling. Using Google Earth, researchers discovered something in Antarctica that defies explanation. Buried beneath the ice and snow is what appears to be a massive ship, approximately 400 feet long. The structure looks remarkably like a cruise liner, complete with what seem to be smokestacks and cabin windows along its sides. But here's the problem. There's no record of any ship this size going missing in Antarctica. If a cruise liner had vanished in these waters, it would have been international news. The entire world would know about it. This has led to some wild theories about what this mysterious object could be. Some researchers suggest it might be leftover technology from a secret Nazi base. During World War II, there were rumors that the Germans had established hidden facilities in Antarctica. Others have proposed even more extraordinary explanations, suggesting it could be evidence of extraterrestrial visitors. The truth is, nobody knows what this object really is, and the remote location makes it nearly impossible to investigate properly. The harsh Antarctic conditions and the fact that it's buried under tons of ice mean that confirming its identity would require a massive, expensive expedition. What makes this discovery even more intriguing is that it's not the only mysterious structure found buried in Antarctic ice. Satellite imagery has revealed several unexplained formations beneath the frozen surface, suggesting that Antarctica might be hiding far more secrets than we ever imagined. Sometimes the ice doesn't just preserve ancient mysteries, it also hides more recent treasures. In 2013, a French mountaineer was climbing Mont Blanc when he noticed something glinting in the ice. What he found was a metal box marked "Made in India" that had been perfectly preserved in the glacier. When he opened the box, he discovered it was filled with precious gems, emeralds, rubies, and sapphires worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The discovery sparked an investigation that revealed the box had come from one of two Indian Airlines flights that had crashed into the mountain over 50 years earlier. The crashes had occurred in 1950 and 1966, and the box had been frozen in the glacier ever since, slowly making its way down the mountain as the ice moved. Authorities searched for the original owners of the gems but were unable to locate them or their families. As a result, the treasure was split between the mountaineer and the local authorities, leaving him with the discovery worth over $340,000. But this wasn't an isolated incident. As glaciers around the world continue to melt due to climate change, they're revealing all sorts of lost treasures and artifacts that have been frozen for decades or even centuries. But perhaps the most terrifying discovery hidden in the ice isn't treasure or ancient creatures. It's something that could potentially threaten all life on Earth. Deep within the permafrost, scientists have discovered ancient viruses that have been frozen for tens of thousands of years, and some of them are still viable. In 2014, researchers found a virus called Pithovirus sibericum in 30,000-year-old Siberian permafrost. This wasn't just any virus. It was one of the largest viruses ever discovered, measuring 1.5 micrometers in length. What made this discovery absolutely chilling was that when scientists thawed it out, the virus was still infectious. Since then, researchers have found multiple ancient viruses preserved in ice, including Malavirus sibericum from the same 30,000-year-old sample, and even older specimens like Pandoravirus eudoma, which dates back an incredible 48,500 years. These viruses have been frozen since before the dawn of human civilization, yet they remain potentially active. Here's what makes this discovery so alarming. As global warming continues to melt permafrost around the world, these ancient pathogens are being released into the environment. Scientists worry that some of these viruses could be dangerous to humans or animals, potentially causing pandemics unlike anything we've ever seen. The viruses discovered so far only infect single-cell organisms, which is why scientists feel safe studying them. But the reality is that there could be thousands of unknown viruses still frozen in the ice, and we have no way of knowing which ones might be dangerous until it's too late. Imagine a virus that was deadly to ancient humans but has been frozen for 50,000 years. Modern humans would have no natural immunity to such a pathogen. As the ice melts, we could be unleashing biological weapons that nature sealed away long before our species developed the ability to defend against them. Sometimes what's hidden beneath the ice is so massive that it's hard to believe it stayed hidden at all. In 1958, a Soviet expedition made a discovery in Antarctica that redefined our understanding of the continent's geography. Buried beneath 600 meters of ice, they found an entire mountain range. The Gamburtsev mountain range is absolutely enormous. It stretches for about 1,250 kilometers and has peaks reaching heights of over 3,300 meters. To put that in perspective, this hidden mountain range is roughly the same size as the European Alps, yet it remained completely unknown to science until the mid-20th century. What makes this discovery even more remarkable is that despite its massive size, we still know almost nothing about these mountains. The thick ice covering and the extreme conditions make exploration nearly impossible. Scientists can only study the range using specialized radar equipment that can penetrate the ice. The existence of these hidden mountains raises incredible questions about what else might be buried beneath Antarctica's ice sheets. If something as massive as an entire mountain range can remain hidden for so long, what other geographical features might be waiting to be discovered? Recent studies suggest that these mountains might be much older than previously thought, possibly dating back hundreds of millions of years. They could contain fossils and geological evidence that would completely change our understanding of Earth's ancient history. But perhaps no frozen discovery captures the imagination quite like the perfectly preserved woolly mammoths that have been found across Siberia. In 2010, mammoth hunters discovered what would become known as yucca, a woolly mammoth that had been frozen for 39,000 years. What made yucca's discovery extraordinary wasn't just her age, but her incredible state of preservation. When scientists examined her, they found that her blood was still flowing. It turns out that mammoth blood contains natural antifreeze compounds that prevented it from completely solidifying even after nearly 40,000 years. But yucca wasn't alone. In 2007, a reindeer herder in Siberia discovered Lyuba, a mammoth calf that was so well preserved it looked like it had died just days before. Lyuba was only about 30 to 35 days old when she died 41,800 years ago, making her one of the most complete mammoth specimens ever found. The discovery of these mammoth specimens has given scientists unprecedented insights into these ancient creatures. They've been able to extract DNA, study their diet, and even understand their family structures. More incredibly, researchers have reported successfully activating cells taken from yucca's tissue, raising the possibility that woolly mammoths could one day be brought back from extinction. Imagine a world where these massive creatures once again roam the Earth. The ice hasn't just preserved their bodies, it's preserved the possibility of their return. Climate change is also revealing more recent history frozen in time. In the northern Italian town of Pio, melting glaciers have begun exposing artifacts from World War I that have been perfectly preserved for over a century. Among the discoveries was an entire cabin that had been buried beneath the ice. When researchers entered the cabin, they found it was like stepping back in time. Hard metal helmets sat exactly where soldiers had left them. Personal belongings, including diaries, photographs, and love letters, were scattered throughout the space, preserved in perfect condition. The ice had created a time capsule that preserved not just objects but the human stories behind them. Reading the letters and diaries, researchers could piece together the experiences of soldiers who had fought and died in these mountains over 100 years ago. The preserved documents revealed intimate details about their fears, hopes, and final thoughts. But this discovery also highlights a bittersweet reality. As glaciers continue to melt, we're gaining access to incredible historical artifacts, but we're also losing the very thing that preserved them. These frozen time capsules are a race against time, where scientists must recover and study artifacts before they're destroyed by exposure to the elements. One of the most tragic yet fascinating discoveries in ice comes from the story of the Franklin expedition. In 1845, Sir John Franklin led 134 men on two ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, in search of the Northwest Passage. They vanished without a trace, becoming one of history's greatest maritime mysteries. For over 150 years, the fate of Franklin and his crew remained unknown. Then, in the 1980s, researchers discovered the perfectly preserved bodies of some crew members on remote Arctic islands. The ice had turned these men into natural mummies, preserving them exactly as they appeared in their final moments. One of these ice mummies was John Torrington, whose face was frozen in an expression of terror and suffering. The preservation was so perfect that scientists could determine exactly how these men died. Analysis revealed they had suffered from lead poisoning from contaminated food supplies, and many had resorted to cannibalism in their desperate final days. The discovery of these ice mummies eventually led to finding the actual ships. In 2014 and 2016, the HMS Erebus and HMS Terror were located on the ocean floor, also preserved by the frigid Arctic waters. The ships were found in remarkable condition, with dinner plates still sitting on tables and personal belongings exactly where crew members had left them over 170 years ago. While most people think of gold as something buried deep underground, melting glaciers have revealed that ice can be just as valuable as any gold mine. During the last ice age, glaciers transported gold-bearing rocks across vast distances, and as these ancient ice sheets melt, they're revealing significant deposits of precious metals. In Alaska and parts of Canada, prospectors have discovered that glacial streams contain unusually high concentrations of gold. The ice had essentially been storing this treasure for thousands of years, slowly concentrating it as the glaciers moved and shifted. Some of these deposits are so rich that modern gold miners are making fortunes simply by following the paths of retreating glaciers. But it's not just gold. The melting ice has revealed deposits of other precious metals and gems that were transported by glacial action tens of thousands of years ago. These discoveries are creating new gold rushes in some of the most remote places on Earth, as prospectors race to claim these newly accessible riches before they're washed away by meltwater. The irony is striking. Climate change, which many see as a crisis, is simultaneously revealing natural treasures that have been locked away since the Ice Age. It's as if the Earth is giving up its most closely guarded secrets just as we're beginning to understand the true cost of a warming planet. Perhaps one of the most shocking discoveries hidden beneath Antarctic ice is evidence of a completely different world that existed millions of years ago. In the transantarctic mountains, geologists have found fossil evidence of ancient forests that once thrived where only ice exists today. These fossilized trees are over 260 million years old, dating back to before the first dinosaurs even appeared on Earth. The discovery reveals that Antarctica was once a warm, forested continent with a climate similar to modern-day temperate regions. The trees would have been incredibly hardy to survive in a land that experienced months of continuous daylight followed by months of darkness. What makes this discovery so significant is what it tells us about Earth's climate history. More than 90% of all species on Earth disappeared around the time these trees were living, in what scientists call the Great Dying. The preserved forest gives us a window into what life was like before this massive extinction event. The fossil trees also provide crucial insights into how plants and ecosystems respond to dramatic climate change. These ancient forests survived in conditions that would challenge any modern ecosystem, yet they eventually succumbed to environmental changes that were likely similar to what our planet is experiencing today. Scientists believe that studying these preserved forests could help us understand how current ecosystems might adapt to rapid climate change, or whether they'll suffer the same fate as their ancient predecessors. In Norway's melting ice patches, archaeologists have made discoveries that are rewriting the history of human civilization in the Arctic. Over the past few decades, they've uncovered roughly 70 arrow shafts, along with textiles, shoes, and reindeer bones, spanning an incredible 5,000 years of human history. The oldest arrows date back to 4,100 BC, making them over 6,000 years old. What's remarkable is that these weapons show that for nearly 5 millennia, people in Norway used essentially the same hunting technology. The arrows were crafted with sharp heads made from various materials including iron, mussel shell, and bone. But here's what makes this discovery truly extraordinary. The ice preserved not just the arrows, but evidence of an entire hunting culture that thrived in these mountains for thousands of years. The artifacts reveal that ancient hunters were incredibly sophisticated, creating specialized equipment for different types of prey and weather conditions. Some of the arrows still had their original bindings made from twisted birch bark, and several retained their leather straps and footholds. The level of preservation is so remarkable that these 6,000-year-old weapons look like they could still be used today. The discovery also reveals something profound about human persistence and adaptation. For 5,000 years, generation after generation of hunters returned to these same ice patches to hunt reindeer using nearly identical techniques. Then, suddenly around 700 years ago, everything changed. The traditional hunting culture vanished, the reindeer migration patterns shifted, and an ancient way of life disappeared forever. But perhaps the strangest discoveries in ice aren't artifacts or creatures at all, but the ice itself. Scientists have recently identified the 19th known form of water ice called Ice 19, which exists only under extremely rare conditions of intense cold and pressure. This exotic ice can only be created in laboratory settings at temperatures of -247 degrees Fahrenheit, taking conditions that don't naturally occur on Earth but are common in the depths of space. Ice 19 has a completely unique crystal structure that's unlike any other form of water we know. What makes this discovery so significant is what it tells us about other worlds. By understanding how these exotic forms of ice behave, scientists can better understand the internal structure of ice-covered planets and moons in our solar system like Uranus, Neptune, and Jupiter's moon Europa. The discovery of Ice 19 also raises fascinating questions about what other forms of matter might be preserved in Earth's most extreme frozen environments. If we're still discovering new forms of something as basic as water ice, What other scientific surprises might be waiting in the planet's deepest freezers? From 76-million-year-old dragons to viruses that could reshape our understanding of life itself, the frozen depths of our planet continue to reveal secrets that challenge everything we thought we knew about Earth's history. Each discovery reminds us that our planet is essentially a massive time capsule, where ice has preserved moments from across millions of years of history. But here's the truly remarkable thing: we've barely scratched the surface. As climate change continues to melt ice around the world, we're entering an unprecedented era of discovery. Every melting glacier, every thawing permafrost deposit, every retreating ice sheet has the potential to reveal the next mind-blowing discovery. The race is on to document and study these frozen treasures before they're lost forever. Because while the ice has been nature's perfect preservative for millions of years, once it melts, these incredible time capsules are gone forever. What do you think is the most incredible frozen discovery? And what do you think we'll find next as the ice continues to reveal its secrets? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe because you won't want to miss what incredible mysteries science uncovers next. The ice has been keeping these secrets for millions of years, but now it's finally ready to give them up. The question is, are we ready for what we might find? Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.